What happens when hip-hop's voice of victory becomes the face of failure? Meek Mill's story is the collision of a dream and a nightmare. The dream, a kid from Philly who rapped his way out of the streets. The nightmare, a rap feud that made him a meme, and a prison sentence that made him a symbol of injustice. This is Meek Mill's story. The raw, explosive energy in Meek's music was a product of his environment. Born Robert Rameek Williams in 1987, his life was marked by tragedy early on. When he was just 5, his father was killed during an attempted robbery. It's a loss he would carry with him his entire life, a trauma poured into his music. His mother, Kathy, moved Meek and his sister to a cramped apartment in North Philadelphia. Money was tight. She worked odd jobs, cut hair, and even shoplifted just to feed her family. This upbringing forged the relentless hunger that would later define him as an artist. He found his escape in hip-hop, inspired by his uncle, a pioneering Philly DJ named Grandmaster Nell. Meek started filling notebooks with rhymes, battling on the street corners under the name Meek Mills. He and his friends formed the group The Bloodhounds, burning their own CDs and selling them hand to hand, the definition of a dream chaser. But the same streets that shipped his art also entangled him in a legal system that would follow him for the rest of his life. At 18, he was arrested for illegally possessing a firearm. He claimed the police beat him so badly his braids were ripped out. In 2008, he was convicted on drug and gun charges and sentenced by Philadelphia judge Janice Brinkley to 11 to 23 months in prison, followed by 8 years of probation. This was the beginning of a judicial relationship that would span more than a decade and become the central nightmare of his life. Meek Mill's rise from the streets of Philly was fast and loud. His early mixtapes, the Flamers series, created a massive local buzz. He was briefly signed by T.I., but the real turning point came in 2011, when he signed with Rick Ross's new powerhouse label, Maybach Music Group. Alongside Wale, Meek became a lieutenant in one of the hottest crews in hip-hop. His verses on the MMG compilation album were explosive. I'm a Boss became a phenomenon, an anthem that solidified Meek's brand of raw, unfiltered street rap. He built on that momentum with his Dream Chasers mixtape series, which dominated the block era of hip-hop. In his own words, the first Dream Chasers mixtape made his name nationwide. This all led to his debut album, Dreams and Nightmares, released on October 30th, 2012. It was a commercial smash, selling 165,000 copies in its first week, and eventually going gold. But the album's title track, that became something else entirely. Dreams and Nightmares is considered one of the greatest intros in hip-hop history. Its genius is in two-part structure. The first half is the dream, a reflection on the struggle, the grind, and the legal battles he was still facing. I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like this, to shine like this. And then the beat switches. The dream erupts into a nightmare he had to survive to get there. It became an anthem for anyone who had ever overcome the odds. At this moment, Meek Mill wasn't just a rapper. He was a dream chaser who had stared into the nightmare and won. In the summer of 2015, Meek Mill was on top of the world. He had the #1 album, Dreams Worth More Than Money, and was in a high-profile relationship with superstar Nicki Minaj. And then, he made a fatal mistake. The conflict with Drake, the biggest star in music, began not in the studio but on Twitter. On July 22nd, Meek tweeted that Drake didn't write his own lyrics, specifically for their collaboration Rico. The reason? He was apparently mad that Drake hadn't tweeted linked to his new album. He took an industry issue public, initiating a battle on terms he didn't understand. Drake's response was a masterclass in modern warfare. First came Charged Up, a subtle warning shot. Meek dismissed it on stage as Baby Lotion Soft, a comment that would not age well. 4 days later, Drake delivered the knockout blow, back to back. The track was a cultural event. The title was a taunt, referencing his back-to-back diss tracks and the Toronto Blue Jays back-to-back World Series wins, the second of which was against Meek's hometown Phillies. The cover art was the devastating visual metaphor for what was about to happen. On the song, Drake raps, "Is that a world tour or your girl's tour?" The lyrics were surgical. He weaponized Meek's relationship with a much bigger star, Nicki Minaj. He also raps, "Yeah, trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting bodied by a singing." And then the kill shot. He flipped Meek's secret persona against him, turning his own soft image into a strength. The song was a sensation, a commercial hit that was even nominated for a Grammy. Meek's response, "Wanna Know," arrived a lifetime too late in internet time. It was widely panned as weak and unfocused. He eventually deleted it from SoundCloud, a quiet admission of defeat. The feud put Nicki Minaj in what she later called one of the hardest parts of my career, caught between her boyfriend and her longtime friend. The public humiliation undoubtedly strained their relationship, which ended in 2017. But this was more than a musical loss. It was a complete destruction of Meek Mill's brand. His entire identity was built on being the authentic, aggressive street rapper. Drake, the singing rapper, then tried to be tougher. He used wit, pop sensibility, and a mastery of internet culture to win. The soft rapper had publicly humiliated the street rapper, and in doing so, he invalidated the very persona Meek has spent his entire career building. The public humiliation from the Drake feud did more than just damage Meek's reputation. It stripped him of his cultural armor, leaving him vulnerable to the legal system that had been shadowing him for years. His legal troubles all stem from that 2008 conviction, which placed him under the supervision of Judge Janice Brinkley for over a decade. His probation was repeatedly extended for technical violations, things like failing to report on travel plans or testing positive for marijuana. The punishments often seemed widely disproportionate, trapping him in a legal maze. Judge Brinkley's conduct came under intense scrutiny. Meek's team alleged that she had a personal vendetta. Reports emerged that she had asked Meek to re-record a Boyz II Men song and give her a shout-out, and that she suggested he sign with a manager who was a friend of hers. Years later, she would be stripped of all her criminal cases after reviews found that she had imposed numerous illegal sentences. This situation exploded in November 2017. After 2 minor arrests where the charges were ultimately dropped, Meek was back in front of Judge Brinkley. Despite the prosecutor and his own probation officer recommending no jail time, Judge Brinkley sentenced him to 2 to 4 years in state prison. His sentence was so shocking it sparked immediate, widespread outrage. This was the birth of the Free Meek Mill movement. What had been a personal legal battle became a national cause. High-profile artists, athletes, and business leaders advocated for his freedom. The movement successfully reframed his story. He was no longer the rapper who lost the beef. He was the victim of a broken, predatory justice system. The public loss to Drake had made him an easy target. The Free Meek movement was a powerful intervention to rebuild his credibility, not on rap supremacy, but on human rights. After 5 months, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordered Meek's immediate release on bail. He walked out of prison and into a new role, not just a rapper, but a leading advocate for criminal justice reform. He used his platform to speak out against the prohibition trap. In 2019, alongside Jay-Z and Michael Rubin, he co-founded the Reform Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to transforming prohibitions and parole laws. This transformation culminated in his 4th album, Championships, released just 7 months after he got out. The album was a massive success, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200. It was a statement of resilience, and critics praised his renewed focus and depth. The album's most symbolic moment was Going Bad, a collaboration with his former rival Drake. The song was a smash hit and marked the official end of their feud, a full-circle moment of redemption. When his next album, Expensive Pain, dropped in 2021, the narrative energy was gone. The commercial results were telling. First week sales dropped by a staggering 58%. He has successfully transformed his public image into that of a respected activist, a monumental win for his legacy. But the data suggests that the damage from the feud and the long legal battles may have permanently altered his trajectory as a consistent, chart-topping musical force. The championship was won, but his reign as a commercial titan seemed to be over. So what ruined Meek Mill's dream? The answer isn't simple. If you define his career by the path that he was on in 2015, a path to superstardom built on aggressive street authenticity, then yes, the career was ruined. The feud with Drake was a public relations disaster that dismantled his artistic identity. The street rapper was humiliated by the singing rapper, shattering his credibility. That loss of cultural armor left him vulnerable, and then the legal system delivered the next blow. His incarceration was the culmination of a decade-long nightmare. Together, those 2 events destroyed the dream he was chasing. But that destruction wasn't the end. It was the catalyst for a profound redefinition. The injustice of his sentence transformed him from a rapper who lost a beef into a symbol for criminal justice reform. He traded a potential career as just another A-list rapper for a more impactful role as an artist activist. The dream of being the biggest rapper in the world died, but from the nightmare, a new, more meaningful purpose was born. What do you think? Did the beef with Drake and his legal battles ultimately help or hurt Meek Mill's legacy? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth hip-hop breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. I'll catch you next time.